thank you so much for the invitation to be here. Like, I'm really enjoying my time, and to give that kind of unique seminar about science and motherhood. That was really even a new experience for me, which I really appreciate. So in terms of, there's been 4 expeditions now to the Arctic. 3 were before I was a mother, and 1 was after I became a mother. And each expedition is very different. The first one was really about even just getting to the caves and exploring them and finding out what samples might be in there, what might be useful for climate research. And the reason I'm interested in that is because the Arctic's warming up twice as fast as the global average, and as we go forward in the next decades and centuries, it will be much warmer and wetter in the future. And so I'm interested in the samples that are in the caves that tell us about a time in the past when it was warmer and wetter, and we can use that as an analogue going forward, really. The first expedition, the hardest part was raising the funding, and I think funding is always the trickiest part, even with the most recent expedition. Just getting the funding is really difficult. But then with each next expedition, like, I've learned a lot from the previous one about logistics, how to go about things, what's worthwhile taking, what's not, what we don't need. And so my own experiences have like really built up over the years as well. And then in terms of the last expedition in 2023, that was to the very north of Greenland. We had to ship fuel even 2 years before we went on the expedition, you know, just to get everything in place. But then once we were there, you know, there's the physical side, there's the remote side. But for me on that particular trip, the mental side of it was the hardest part, because I'd left my daughter behind for a few weeks, and that was the biggest struggle at that time. Yeah.
She was almost a newborn at that time.
She was 2.5 years old at the time, yeah.
You often speak proudly about being a mother in science. How has motherhood influenced your approach to your Arctic expeditions and your research in general?
Yeah, so I think being a mother in science and Arctic research, it changed the way I value even the data in a lot of ways. So I've always been really committed to the science, obviously, and why we study climate change and the you know, and our futures. But now having Madeline, and it's personal now, because it's about her future and you know, and her friends' future and her children's future. And so for me, it's not really changed the approach, it's changed how I feel about my work, and it's made it feel more personal and even more important for myself.
Yeah. And in your opinion, what initiatives might help the work-family life balance?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm the best person to ask about work-family life balance. I have lots of experiences, and I still haven't found the perfect solution, I have to say. I think even, you know, not even talking about going away on remote expeditions, but really flexible working hours is essential. And I think understanding from colleagues, you know, that you're just not always available all the time, just a general culture there. I think timetabling can make a big difference. So there are appropriate times for any parent with a child that needs to, you know, be somewhere else for the school pickup or the kindergarten pickup or something like that. I have recently changed my hours. I've gone down to 80% as well. And as a mother, I just really need 1 day a week to myself, to be honest, you know, because at the weekends they aren't my own, because Madeline's around and we do family stuff. And in the week, if I work the 40, 60 hours, whatever we work as academics, like I'm completely burnt out. So I reduced my own hours recently to 80%, so I have 1 day a week. And sometimes, I have to say, I'm an academic, so sometimes I work on those days. But at least I feel like I have 1 day that's for myself, which is really important. And then I also led quite a big initiative at work in recent years. We developed a family room in the institute, in the faculty even, And it's a safe space with like a nice comfortable couch for breastfeeding or pumping. There's changing tables, there's like a meeting space, there's toys for young children, microwave kitchen and things. And it sends a message. It sends a message that parenthood is welcome in academia for a start. For women who want to come into the workplace but still need to breastfeed, they can do that. They can come with a baby, or they can come in and have a meeting. They can still pump, so that they can still breastfeed otherwise, or the father can come in and bring, and it's just a safe space for that, and it just sends the right message, and I think that's really critical as well. And at the start, people were saying to me, will this be used? And even before it was officially open, it was being used. It was really wanted. So, and I'm really proud that we have that facility now. So they're just small things, but I think they make a big step. And there's still a long way to go. But there's always decisions as well. I understand there's like budgets and room availabilities and all these other things, and the real world complexities of combining and managing it all is difficult. So.
But what drew you toward the caves research?
Oh, yes. Well, that started long ago. I was 12 years old when I went in my first cave, and I absolutely just loved being underground. And then when I was at university, I was studying paleoclimate and found out that you could put the two together. And so then I could combine my love of being underground in caves with paleoclimate research, and I applied for a PhD and I got the position, and it went from there.
I still have a couple of questions. One is, what advice would you give to young women who dream of building a career in scientific research, especially in fields like speleology that involve also challenging field work sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, women are tough, right? We've got no problem being in the field. The most important thing is to surround yourself with people that support that. It was never even a question whether I should or could go into the field, and maybe that's why I've gone on to be a successful field scientist, because that has never been the barrier. So it is possible, and just surround yourself with the right people, I think, that would make that happen. You can also ask around, if there's a particular research field that you're interested in, or a person that you want to work with, you can speak to other people that have worked with that particular PI, and you can find out already in advance about what's the culture of inclusion in the field and things like this. And the other thing I would say, which is harder to do, I think, when you first start out, is stand up for yourself. Which I started doing more recently because I'm more comfortable with myself. So if I think something's inappropriate, I tell the person it's inappropriate. 100% of the time they back down and say, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't realise." So there's also a bit of give and take. We're in this phase of transition, this change. Everyone's trying. Most people, let's say, are trying to move forward and be more inclusive. But there's still just some stereotypical norms that creep in, or cultural things, or just unawareness. But I do appreciate that when you're first starting out, it can be difficult to speak up for fear of consequences. In that case, you may find a female role model who's maybe in a higher position to speak to, and they can make the argument that it's inappropriate or something. Have a good mentor, I would say.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
And what are your next challenges and scientific challenges?
I think right now the challenge is actually balancing childcare and science, honestly, and motherhood. I know that I've not been as productive in recent years because of, I've raising a child and also organising a huge expedition. That takes time. So in terms of academic productivity, with being successful with grant proposals or going to conferences or writing papers, it's not at the level it was at like 8 years ago, for instance. But the issue with that now is that I start to suffer from that, because now I start to lose funding and I start to get things turned down as a consequence of not being productive in recent years. And this is something I've experienced. So I have to work on building my academic reputation back up, which I find quite, I mean, that's hard to accept, that it was basically because I had a child and now I have to work extra hard to build it back up again. Yet at the same time, I can't just go away for a week to a conference, you know, that's or at least I don't want to. So that's a challenge. What I've done recently is designed a project around that's not so ambitious. It doesn't involve going to Greenland, and it's actually quite close to my parents, so also they can help with childcare and things as well. So for the next few years, my research is going in a slightly different angle that's manageable for me. And I fully intend to go back and do the big expeditions later on. But for now, for the next few years, I just do something a bit more manageable, and I'm not to say less ambitious, but because I'm excited about it. But I just had to accept that it would be a bit different for the next few years, and that's fine.